prepare for your baby's first photo shoot at the newborn stage. So if you're seeing this, chances are you've either recently had a baby or you are expecting, so a huge congratulations. Getting a newborn photo shoot is really one of those amazing milestones that we think all parents should do when it comes to welcoming their new baby into the world. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what you need to do and how to prepare to get the best results out of your newborn portrait session. I will caveat this really by saying that if you have booked a specialist newborn photographer, chances are they're going to provide you with lots of guidance and give you a comprehensive rundown of all the information and what works best for them as a studio. So do reach out to your photographer if you haven't had that already, but it is a little bit of a red flag if you get nothing. So let's get into it. What do we say to our clients that's going to give you the best opportunity to having the most successful newborn session? So first of all, one of the things that we always recommend is that you try and time babies' feeds. Now this isn't always possible, and any photographer should be completely understanding of this when they're specialising in newborns, but for best results, if you can arrive at the studio with the baby ready to feed, that is absolutely perfect and optimal. That means that when you strip baby down, they're going to be ready to eat, and that process then of feeding is going to comfort them and settle them off into a sleep, which gives us the perfect scenario and the perfect start to a newborn session, because in an ideal situation we want that baby to go off into a nice deep sleep so that we can begin working through our workflow of poses. If you've got a baby that's a slightly awake, that's absolutely fine, but if they're a little bit unsettled or a little bit more alert, often it means that we can't achieve every single pose in the workflow, so it means that we might need to skip certain things. So yeah, one of the best things that you can do really is make sure that your baby has got a full tummy ready for that session. If you're breastfeeding and you can take along some extra expressed milk with you, or if you're formula feeding, make sure that you've got plenty with you. You will notice that it's likely that baby will feed during the session as well, and they will generally feed more than they normally would in that time frame. So that's just something to just be aware of. Secondly, dressing your baby for their shoot. Now, newborn photo shoots, generally babies are not wearing clothing or outfits. So what you need to do really is make that process of arriving at the studio and getting them ready to be photographed as easy as possible. So what we mean by that is don't put them in any fancy or frilly outfits or anything that's rather complicated with lots of buttons. Make sure that they're just in a sleep suit. That's going to make the whole process of getting them undressed and ready to be photographed really, really easy, and it's going to be a lot less stressful for you as parents as well, because generally, especially if you're a first-time parent, that whole process of getting baby undressed is a little bit daunting, and we hate shoving arms and legs into sort of small outfits and stuff. So if you can just pop them in a nice little sleep suit, that's going to make things really, really simple for you as well. Now, what we will say as well is don't lotion up the baby during or in the immediate time before the shoot. We don't want to see baby with completely oily skin coming into the session. If they've got dry skin, that's absolutely fine, and it's perfectly normal for a newborn to have dry and flaky skin. It's part of the process of them developing their skin, I guess. So don't worry if they've got lots of flaky skin. Don't lather them up with lots of baby oil or anything in advance of the session. It's very, very easy to take off a little bit of dry skin in post-processing if that's the look that you're going for, but getting rid of that shine is much, much more difficult. So we would much prefer you arrive with a baby that isn't oiled up for the session. By all means, lather them up after the session. The other thing really is making sure that you've got plenty of sort of wipes and things on hand with you. A lot of studios will keep things on hand as well, but make sure that you have got some, because we're going to need to do obviously cleanups and stuff in between the session. Babies will poo, they will pee, that's completely normal. So we just do obviously need to have things on hand to make sure that we can clean up and move on. And the same goes for things like muslin cloths. They're really handy to have during the session. If you're not opposed to it, the other thing that we would always suggest is having a dummy or a pacifier on hand. Not every parent wants to give one to their baby, and that's absolutely fine, but we do tend to find that babies who have one will transition through poses easier if they do get a little bit fussy. So even if you only give it to them for the duration of your photo session, they will really, really help, especially if they're starting to sort of get a little bit fussy. And the only other thing really that is a key point to note, I guess, is the studio will be really, really warm. So any good newborn photographer will heat their room to around 28 degrees in Celsius, which is just over 80 Fahrenheit, I think. So for us as adults, that can be quite uncomfortably warm. So make sure that as parents, you are prepared for that warmth. So make sure that you're dressed appropriately. Don't turn up in your big thick jeans and your jumpers and things like that. Make sure that you've got layers on if it's cold outside, because during that session and in the studio itself, it's going to be really, really warm. If you've got any other questions about how you might prepare for your newborn session, please do drop them in the comments. We'd be more than happy to help you and explain more into what we do and how we prepare our clients for their session. But yeah, that's pretty much it from me today, and I will see you soon.